All right. So what we want to do is we want to go like this. We start Parshas Vayakhel, and Parshas Vayakhel is a gathering of the Jewish people together. Moshe gathers the Jewish people together. Now, one of the commentaries has a complete, what I called yesterday, a pastry. He's got a tapestry over here that puts the whole Torah together, okay, based on this word Vayakhel over here, okay? Now, he says it like this. There's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, everybody knows. The second Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, Shimon HaTzadik HaMishar Knesses HaGdola, and he said the following, Al Shlosha Dvarim HaOlam Omeid, the world stands on three things. Al HaTorah Ve'al HaAvoda Ve'al Gemilus Chasadim, the world stands on Torah, Avoda, and Gemilus Chasadim. Now, Torah is Torah study. Avoda means any service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, primarily korbanos, in our day and age, tefillah, because we don't have korbanos, we don't have sacrifices, and any mitzvah performance. That's a way of serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Gemilus Chasadim is obviously acts of kindness. Now, that's what the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avos. The commentaries point out that what the Mishnah here is telling you is these are the three things that the world was created for. The world was created for the purpose of Torah, Avodah, and Gemilus Chasadim. That's what the purpose of the world is. On an individual level, it means that every Jew has to be involved in Torah, Avodah, and Gemilus Chasadim 24 hours a day. Now, how could I possibly be involved 24 hours a day? What about if I eat? Well, if you eat properly, with the right intention, that becomes a form of avodah. Because God created us as human beings, so you have to eat. So eating becomes a form of avodah. Sleeping potentially could become a form of avodah. If you would think for 1 minute before you went to sleep, not even 1 minute, for 10 seconds, I am sleeping now in order to recharge my battery so I could serve Hashem better tomorrow. That changes the next 6 hours, 7 hours, 19 hours, whatever amount of sleep you get each night is changed by a 10-second thought before you go to sleep. I'm going to sleep in order to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm going to eat chont on Shabbos in order to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? Just to think it. You don't have to say it, by the way. You don't have to say it. All you got to do is think it, then dive in, because you're fulfilling a mitzvah. You're fulfilling a mitzvah. Now, obviously, when it comes to the, I'm going swimming. For 10 seconds before you go swimming, just think, I'm going swimming because it helps you to feel good, feel energized, to exercise, and so then enjoy the swimming. Splash, get people, you dunk people, do whatever you have to do when you swim, whatever the mitzvah is when you swim, right? But just have that thought, and that becomes a way of serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's part of swimming. That's part of playing clarinet, and that's part of playing tennis, and that's part of doing anything you do. I'm doing it, I need to feel good, I need to relax, I need an outlet. That becomes an avoda. Potentially that's avoda. So we have to be involved in Torah, Avodah, and Gemilus Chasadim. Now, more than that, there's what to say about that. I want to go into what's got to do with the Chumash. On an individual level, there are three areas of serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You have three relationships. There's a relationship between you and God, a relationship between you and your fellow man, a relationship between you and yourself. Three relationships. The relationship between you and God is what we're going to call avoda. The relationship between you and God is what we're going to call avoda. Avoda means that you are serving HaKadosh Baruch Hu, whether it is tefillah, whether it is korbanos, whether it is sleeping. Avoda is the way that you serve. Avoda is the way that you serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That is the relationship between you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Gemilus Chasadim is obviously the relationship between you and your fellow man, chesed. And Torah is the relationship between you and yourself, because a person has to perfect his character, and the only way that a Jew could perfect his character and overcome the evil inclination is through learning Torah. So there are three relationships represented by Torah, Avodah, and Gemilus Chasadim. So far we're together, right? Okay. That's the second Mishnah in the first parak of Pirkei Avos. There's another Mishnah in the fourth parak, Mishnah 17. According to the Siddur, it might be a different numbering, because the official numbering is not, the Siddur does not follow the official numbering in the Mishnah. The Siddur has it broken up for some reason. They break it up differently in the Mishnah. But the official Mishnah is in fourth parak, Mishnah Yud Zayin. I think in the Siddur it comes out to Mishnah 22. Here we go. It's Mishnah 28 on page 570. So he says like this: Rabbi Eliezer HaKapar Omer, page 570. It's Mishnah 28 in the fourth chapter. Hakina ve'ataiva ve'akavod motzinas adam min olam. Envy, desire, and the pursuit of honor take a person out of this world. Again, three. What do you call it? The three main negative traits: envy, physical desire, and the pursuit of honor take a person out of this world. Now, the plain meaning is that these things can literally kill you. If you're jealous of somebody, it eats away at you. It eats away at you physically. A person gets stomach aches out of jealousy. And then a person tries to overworks he works himself too hard in order to what do you call it, in order to keep up with somebody else. I just read a halachic shaila about a guy, there's a business where they sell kitchens. Sell kitchens. People want to remodel their house, they sell kitchens. So one of the salesmen was just outselling everybody else. He was just constantly outselling us. So the boss called him and says, "How are you being so successful selling kitchens?" He says, "Well, very simple. Anytime I go in and when we sell a kitchen, I go in and I take a picture of the kitchen and then I go knock on the neighbor's door and I say, 'Hey, by the way, do you want to see your neighbor's new kitchen?' And I show them the new kitchen. Most people, then they look at their own kitchen and are like, well, and then the wife starts nudging the husband, we ought to put in a new kitchen over here. Because Shlomo HaMelech says, it's a pasuk, Shlomo HaMelech says, I have seen all of man's achievements, and vihi kinas ish mere'ehu. It's by envy. Oh, this guy built a building. I'm building a bigger building. This guy has it. Even in the yeshiva world, even in the Torah world, the guy, he learned the whole Masechta in a week. I'm going to do it in half a week. You know what I mean? There's something called kinas sofrim. Kinas sofrim means scholarly envy. That I'm in the proper use of it is that I'm motivated by your achievements, not that I'm simply jealous of your achievements. So this guy used to go around, and he would go to knock on the neighbor's door, and then you go around. So then halachic shaila came up with it's appropriate, whether you could activate jealousy in order to sell kitchens. And according to the posek, he says certainly not appropriate, but he can't think of any specific prohibition. It's certainly not the nicest thing in the world to do. So that's kina, and kina could drive you crazy. It could literally cut your life short. Taiva is physical desire, which could kill a person in all sorts of ways. Right? It could be what do you call it? It could be some sort of immorality-based disease, or it could be the wrong foods, or the only good food that you can really eat is bisli. Bisli apparently is good for you. Everything else is poison. I don't know what they put in bisli. Israel's national export. So can you imagine what's in bisli, Coke? Anything we eat, basically everything is poison. So if a person has got the desire for drugs can certainly kill you. You have to do the drugs in the proper measure. What do you call it? I don't mean that you should. I mean that if you're going to, make sure not to do too much. And what do you call it? Drugs and a lot of things. You pursue the wrong woman, so her husband kills you. Or you kill the husband. It depends depending on which way it goes. It could literally kill you. And kavod is the pursuit of honor. Also, the pursuit of honor, people get positions which are, you get a newspaper photographer who goes up to Syria because he wants to get the honor of having the scoop and getting the pictures and everything else, and they get killed. How many newspaper reporters have been killed in the last year or something? I think it was something like 60 newspaper reporters. And you're hanging around in places, and all for what? To make your name, for the pursuit of honor. And other examples like that. Okay, that's at the plain meaning. Now, you have to understand every aveira that a person ever does, every time a person sins, one or more of these ingredients are going to be involved in the aveira. Either kina, taiva, or kavod. If you make a joke at somebody else's expense in public because you want to promote yourself, that's kavod. If you eat non-kosher food, it's obviously taiva. If what do you call it? If you steal money because you want to keep up with somebody else, that's kina. All three. Sometimes all three, but at least one of them will be involved in every prohibited activity. And in every positive activity, at least one of the others will be. It will be either Torah, Avoda, or Gemilus Chasadim. It could be more than one. If you learn Torah with a weaker guy in the yeshiva because he asks you for help, so then you're doing Torah and Chesed at the same time. And if you daven for somebody who's ill, then it's avoda and chesed at the same time because you're davening for them. You understand? One of your activities have to fit one category or the other. They can't fit both. It's got to be one of the three positive things, one of the three. These are now. You'll notice, of course, that the three are perfectly parallel to each other. The three are perfect parallels of each other. Why? Why? Because Torah is self-control. Torah helps us to control. What's the opposite of Torah? Taiva, physical desire. Right? Torah and Taiva are parallels. Avoda is the opposite of kavod. Kavod means I'm in control. It's all about me. I'm the one running the show. My honor, my decisions. What does avoda mean? Avoda means submission to a higher power. It's very difficult. We got to humble ourselves. You got to bow down on the ground. You know, in the Beis Hamikdash, used to bow down. It was spread eagle. To bow down to somebody means you're humbling yourself. Anytime you need somebody else, like a guy goes in front of a monarch, they bow down, they get on their knees, they touch their face to the ground. That's very humbling. You are submitting. Avoda, service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, doing what you're told to do, is the opposite of kavod. Doing what you're told to do is the opposite of kavod. Those two are parallel to each other. And the last one is gemilus chasadim. Gemilus chasadim is kindness, which is the polar opposite of what? Of kina, of envy. Envy means I resent what you have. And gemilus chasadim means I'm concerned for what you have. Okay? That's clear so far. Everything about that is clear. Okay. Now let's look at the three cardinal sins for a second. What are the three cardinal sins? Murder, idol worship, and adultery, immorality. Okay? Now, which category would murder fit into? Murder is the most inconsiderate thing you could do, right? Besides killing the guy, you take up a lot of his time, right? So murder is considered the opposite of gemilus chasadim. It is kina to the highest level. Where's the first murder in history? Cain. Where does the word Cain come from? Cain is related to the Hebrew word kina, which is exactly what his problem was. He was jealous that Hevel's offering was accepted. How do you like that? Not only that, Cain also comes from the Hebrew word kinyan, which is what? Acquisition. Because when you're jealous of other people's acquisitions. So Cain, kina, raised to the highest level is murder. Avodah zarah is kavod to the highest level. I don't want to submit the way you want me to submit, Hashem. I'll submit the way I want to submit. Denial of God. I'm in charge. That's kavod to the highest degree. And obviously, adultery, immorality, is taiva to the highest, in the worst way possible. That means that everything we do, this is what's remarkable, everything we do is going to fit one of those categories, one of those 6 categories. You're either doing something good or you're doing something not good. If you're watching TV and you shouldn't be watching, it's taiva. You enjoy what you're seeing, whatever you're doing, it's taiva. If you're going to play, you're playing basketball simply because you want to play basketball, right? That's a form of desire. Or kavod, because on the basketball court, my wife saw me play when we first got married. I played basketball. My wife watched me. She watched a couple of times. And then she put me on probation. She wouldn't let me play. For 6 months, she wouldn't let me play. She didn't say it that. She just said, you can't play anymore. But why not? And we're just married. We're married a couple of weeks. She said, because every bad midah known to man comes out on the basketball court when you play. You're selfish, you're haughty, you're angry, every bad midah known to man. Right? After 6 months, I threw away my pride and I pleaded and begged. So she relented. So I went out and played and broke my foot. Right? That's what happened. I don't know that there's cause and effect, but it is an interesting coincidence. So she said every bad midah. Come on now. If you're playing basketball because you want to be healthy, so you've gone from kina, taiva, and kavod, you've gone to doing a mitzvah. One or the other. If you go for a pleasure cruise, because I've been working hard, I got to clear my head a little bit, I'll serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu better, and the pleasure, whatever, that becomes a form of avoda. It's not just an ends in and of itself. You understand? So it's got to fit one of those 6 categories. Okay. Now, doesn't mean you have to wake yourself up every few minutes when you're sleeping. Don't set your alarm clock for every 20 minutes. Wake yourself up. I'm doing this l'shem shamayim, right, and go back to sleep. You don't have to do that. Go to sleep for 8 hours or whatever you do, sleep. But before you go to sleep, just think to yourself, I'm doing this. I could get up for minyan tomorrow morning and serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, be in a bad mood, so I'm not snapping at everybody all around me, and so on and so forth. Okay? Those are the 3 categories. There was another halachic shaila. This is a dandy. There's a guy who collects ancient Judaic artifacts. So he goes to he's an Israeli guy, goes to America, and he checks out. He goes to there's some area in New York where they're selling, they got all these Judaica stores. I don't know where it is. He goes in, doesn't see anything that interests him. There's one last little shop. What could possibly be in there? He goes in there, he takes a look. He's looking around, doesn't see anything. And then in a corner on the floor, he sees the cat. There's a cat who's lapping up milk out of a platter. And the guy looks at the platter. He starts getting a look at the platter, and he says, "Enough of the platter." He walks into the corner. He pulls out his artifacts book, his Judaica, ancient, is what he takes a look at it. He says the platter. He keeps looking back and forth. He says the platter is worth several $100,000. And the guy obviously doesn't know it. He's got a cat lapping up milk out of the platter. So he says, "Look, now he can't ask to buy the platter because then the guy's going to ask what's up. What's up with the platter?" So he says, "I got an idea. I'll buy the cat." He said, "Got an idea." He says, "How much you want to sell your cat for?" The guy says, "It's a lot." How much? So $1,000. $1,000 for the cat. Take it or leave it. It's not selling the cat for less than $1,000. So the cat's worth $200, and that's why he says, "Take it or leave it." He says, "All right, I'll buy the cat." Brett peels off $1,000. He says, "The guy, listen, I got to feed the cat. Do you mind if you throw in that saucer over there?" I says, "No, I'm not selling the saucer." He says, "I'll give you $1,000 for the saucer." He says, "No, $5,000. He says, no, I'm not selling the saucer. For all the money, I'm not selling. So he says, "Why not?" He says, "Because I don't sell artifacts. I sell cats. And I got guys like you coming in all the time who are looking, they see the cat and they buy the cat because they want the saucer. I know what that saucer's worth, right? I ain't selling you the guy. You paid $1,000. He says, "Give me my $1,000 back. I only meant it for." He says, "What do you mean you meant it? You gave me the $1,000, and the $1,000 was a good deal for the cat. You didn't say a word about this." So I said, "That's what I was thinking. Dvarim shebalev einam dvarim." Sorry, buddy. So he went to a Rav, and the Rav said, "Listen, at the point you bought the cat," the guy says, "Listen, there's such a thing in halacha as overcharging. And if you overcharge me, the whole sale is void." The Rav says, "That's only if the guy did not know in advance. That he decided in advance, he knows he's being ripped off, but he's okay with it because he really wants something else. At the point you bought the cat, you were okay with it. You do not get your $1,000 back." Real halachic style. How do you like that for a sting? I like that for a sting operator. Now, tell me, was that guy Jewish? 2 Jews. There you go. Don't mess with Jews. How do you like it? Mr. Vogel's eyes are, he's already there. I see the way to go. Oh, hey, that's good, yeah. Those guys are Jewish. So the that's all taiva, covet, whatever, all throw it into the mix. Kina, throw the whole thing into the mix, right? Whatever's motivating either one of them. It's all got to be coming from there. Okay, that's the idea. Oh, I'll tell you one more. This I saw, the Ben Ish Chai brings this down. There were 2 wealthy guys in a town. Apparently it's a true story. There were 2 wealthy guys in the town. And no matter what each one did, the other one did more. One guy bought a horse with a wagon with a couple of horses. The other guy bought a bigger what's it called, a coach, a bigger state coach with 4 horses. This guy built himself a mansion with several acres. This guy built a building. He built a swimming pool, built a building. But each one kept going back and forth. Finally, guy Reuven comes over and says, "Hey, Shimon, listen, this got to stop. It's got to stop. This isn't good for either of us. I have an idea. Want to prove who's wealthiest? I say we call the whole town together. We take a boat out into the harbor. Bring out a sack of gold coins. We'll start throwing in the gold coins into the river. Whoever stops first has conceded the other guy's wealthier." Shimon says, "Okay, you're on." So they go out there. Reuven tosses a gold coin. Shimon tosses a gold coin. Reuven tosses a gold coin. Shimon tosses a gold coin. Reuven tosses a gold coin. Shimon tosses a gold coin. Finally, at a certain point, Shimon stops. I can't anymore. Reuven's the winner, richest guy in town. Somebody comes over to Reuven and says, "Hey, Reuven, was it really worth it? It's really worth it you threw away all that gold just to prove you're the richest guy?" He says, "That wasn't gold. I took a bunch of copper coins, I coated them with gold, I didn't lose any gold. What do you think? I've been sugar, I threw the gold in." So Shimon comes back and says, "What? You deceived me. Now you have to pay me back for the gold that I threw into the river. Because you were the one who raised the challenge. You challenged me, I took up the challenge." I went to the post and said, "Nothing doing. When you throw your own money away, nobody told you to be an idiot and you have to compete like that. You willingly threw your money into the river. You haven't got a halachic, you haven't got a leg to stand on." That's the famous in the Mesilas Yesharim or the Orchos Tzaddik, one of the classic Musar Sorim, talks about the guys who come to the king and the one who each one's jealous of the other, and they come to the king and they want to settle this once for all. The king says, "Okay, I'll give you whatever you want. One of you gets whatever you want, the other one gets double. So the first guy says, okay, I'll go first. And the other guy says, okay, great, then I'll get double. And the first guy says, yeah, poke out one of my eyes. They're showing you to what degree jealousy could lead to. That's the degree. As long as he's worse off, I'm happy. Right? That's Kina Taiva Kavod. Okay. Now, we see that the extension of that is Avodah Zarah Gilur Asid Sheichus Damim. Okay? Now, pay attention carefully. We're only halfway through the ride. What Averas were involved in the first sin of Adam Harishon? What Averas were involved in Adam's sin? So it says openly, she saw that the fruit was desirable, ki ta'avahu la'einayim, right? Ta'avahu la'einayim, it is very desirable food. There's taiva. The snake said to her, you'll eat it and you'll be like God. V'yisem kelokim yodei tovra, you'll be like God. Eat the fruit, you'll be like God. Oh, what's that? Covered. That's covered. I want to be God. I want to be like God. I don't want to be told what to do. And jealousy, when she saw that Adam, she ate it. She was nervous. Rashi says she was worried she would die. He would marry somebody else. So she said, if you go, I'm going with you. If I go, you're going with me. And she gave him the fruit. So you see that Kina, Taiva, and Kavod were all catalysts of the original sin. According to one opinion, it's because the snake saw them and he was jealous of Adam. He wanted Chava. But all three of them are involved in the original sin. Okay? As a result of the original sin, what happened? Death came to the world. Death came to the world. Right? Now, when was that original? That became the job of mankind now to rectify the original sin. So that original sin was going to begin, the rectification of the original sin was given to all of mankind, right? But what happened to mankind? What happened to mankind? First chance, Cain killed Hevel. Murder. Strike one. The next was the generation of the flood. What was their Avera? Immorality. Strike two. They messed up. They didn't fix up immorality. The Tower of Babel, what did they want? Go up there and make a name for ourselves, which is what? Kavod. You don't get much more kavod than that. Mankind as a whole has struck out. Kina, Taiva, kavod, murder, idol worship, immorality. Again, mankind messed up. At that point, God says, all right, I'm taking the job of rectifying Adam's sin, and I'm giving it to one group of people, which is who? The Jewish people. And who are the fathers of the Jewish people? Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. What is Avram? Chesed. What is Yitzchak? Avoda. Avoda. You don't get much better avoda than putting your neck out on an altar, letting somebody shecht you. That's a good korban, right? And what is Yaakov Avinu? Torah. Yaakov sat in the tents of Torah, right? So the rectification of mankind, the opposite of Kina, Taiva, and Kavod, is Torah, Avoda, and Gemilus Chasodim, and is given to who? To one line of people, the Jewish people. That becomes our job through history. When did the Jewish people reach the level where the sin was rectified? At Mount Sinai. At Mount Sinai, they've reached the level, before the sin of the golden calf, they reached the level of Torah, Avoda, and Gemilus Chasodim. The sin had been, there's no more death in the world. Then they messed up. Okay? Now, so whether this happens before depends on which opinion you go with. Whether you go with the opinion that the Mishkan was before the Avera, after the Avera, was a response to the Avera, whatever it is, look what happens to the Jewish people. In the effort, in the same pattern, what's the first thing Moshe Rabbeinu says to the Jewish people when they have to go to Sinai? They have to go up, they have to go up to the mountain. The first thing they have to do is they have to separate from their wives. Taiva, rectification for Taiva. The next thing they have to do is what's called Hagbola. Hagbola means that you're not allowed past a certain point on the mountain. What's that the opposite of? Kavod, of course. Anytime you take instructions that goes against kavod, especially when you want to get up to the mountain for a spiritual reason, and you said, no, you could only go to this point, and you could go to this point, no further. That's kavod. What are we missing? We're missing kina. We're missing unity of the Jewish people. Where's the unity of the Jewish people? Vayakhel Moshe es bnei Yisrael. Vayakhel Moshe is the unity of the Jewish people. This completes. There are other areas where this is manifest, by the way, because it's also on Yom Kippur. Moshe goes up on Yom Kippur, which is obviously the opposite of Taiva. And the Jewish people are Ke'ish echad b'leiv echad at Har Sinai. There is one person with one heart. That's the you find this pattern. This is a pattern you're going to find all through Torah constantly. One of the ideas here, by the way, one of the ideas in this Mishnah, then that's what Vayakhel is. Vayakhel is no accident that's coming at this point. Vayakhel is coming at the point where the Jewish people are united in part of the receiving of the Torah as part of this process of either the rectification of the sin or the rectification of mankind, which is why our job becomes, and that's why, by the way, in this Mishnah, you'll notice it said, Rabbi Elazar HaKapar Omer, Hakina ve'atayva ve'akavod, motziin es ha'adam mina olam. They take man out of the world. One of the commentaries points out ha'adam means Adam Harishon, because those are the things that took Adam Harishon out of the world. That was the original sin. That's why it says motziin es ha'adam mina olam. It takes man out of the world. That was the rectification of the sin of Adam Harishon. Now, there's another idea here, by the way. Once we're on this Mishnah, I just said we'll finish up with this because this is also an important thing to understand, that Motziin es ha'adam mina olam means that these three things take you out of the world of perspective. It takes you out of the world of reality. Jealousy, when you're jealous of somebody else, you're completely lost in your jealousy. You're just thinking, this guy just must be enjoying it so much. He got a new car and he must be enjoying it so much. You don't know that this guy can't sleep at night because he noticed a microscopic scratch just above the right back tire, and you think he's just, every time he gets in the car, he's just, it feels like $1 million the way you think, and you're out of the world of reality completely, because after a day or two of driving the car, it's not what do you call it? It's just not what you think it is. I remember when I was 19, when I had my pizza shop, I bought a brand new Camaro. Camaro's a nice car, real nice car. And I remember I drove the car home, and I was just thinking to myself, okay, now what? Okay, so I got the car, a piece of metal. I was just so looking, and then I just remember looking at it, now what? Now what? Okay, now I got it. Now what? It just wasn't what I thought it would be. You're out of the world of reality. That's kina. Taiva, physical desire. Person engages in any sort of physical desire. Yeah, it's good. It's enjoyable. Is it what was cracked up to be in your imagination? Rarely. Rarely is it what's cracked up to be in your imagination. It's always that food that you eat on Motzei Yom Kippur, which you thought was going to be the be-all and end-all. Even when you wedge 4 pieces of pizza and you put them in your mouth, after Yom Kippur, it was going to be unbelievable, right? It was okay, it was good, Was it the be-all and end-all, and then it's gone after you swallow it. It's gone. And kavod is the same thing. A person gets the position of honor, and they think, well, this is going to be it, position of honor. So my favorite line is, the former governor of Illinois, Blagojevich, whatever how you pronounce his name, what's his name, Blagojevich, whatever it was. My favorite line of all. I mean, here's a guy who's a governor living in governor's mansion. There are only 50 of them in the United States. And on one of his recorded phone conversations when Obama became president, he had the position to give away. So one of the things he said was, this is too good to give away. This is gold. Which means he was asking, he obviously needed to be paid for it. You understand? That's because you're out of the world of reality. Once you're out of the world of reality, it's blinding. Then you are trapped by these 3 areas of Avera. These are the areas of the catalyst of sin. Okay, gentlemen, we'll continue tomorrow.